The Wrap have reported that Michael Keaton is in early talks to reprise his role from Multiplicity. He's back with all his different characters.
Wow. Mr. Mom.
Yes.
He's in talks to reprise all his characters. We're in a Keaton extravaganza. We're in the Keaton Naissance.
We certainly are, aren't we? Mm-hmm. But no, of course, talking about Batman. He's Batman returning. He's Batman returning for the role that made him very rich. I was going to say famous. He was already famous, but it made him extraordinarily rich, which makes me think if he is signing on for this, he's going to be even more extraordinarily rich. Do you remember what it was? It was like a $30 million deal for the second one or something like that?
I think he was offered $50 million for 3.
Yeah.
For Batman Forever. And he was like...
I'm rich already.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I want to do Multiplicity and then bits and pieces.
Yeah, that's right. He said, I'll never put on the cape and cowl again until Joel Schumacher dies.
That's right.
That's how much I dislike the concept for Batman Forever.
I'm Batman.
Apparently the idea is that he's going to be positioned similarly to Nick Fury. He's going to have an understanding and looking over the multiverse. And there was also a rumor a few weeks back that Henry Cavill was going to be cameoing as a Nick Fury type.
Right.
Are they all just going to be small cameos in other movies? Is that the idea? We're putting together a team. My team or your a different team.
Do you want to join the Justice League? I thought I was in the Justice League.
No, this is the real Justice League.
We didn't look. We didn't formalize it last time. Nobody signed any contracts last time, so.
That's right. So we're locking you in.
Nobody specifically said we're all in the Justice League in the last one, so.
There was no hands-in moment.
That's right.
As far as I'm aware. So what I think happened here, I think originally this role was supposed to be Ben Affleck's, and he was going to be the Tony Stark kind of esque character that would kind of the linchpin of the universe.
Big round table. 6 chairs. Right there.
But room for more.
But room for more.
And they don't have that anymore.
No.
So who do you get back? You know what I mean? Who do you get to? Who's a huge name which would get a lot of Hollywood goss? People would be on board. They like him as an actor and as a person. This is an excellent choice to kind of lead your universe. I don't know necessarily it fits narrative-wise, but I can absolutely see the thinking here.
So what are we doing here? Are we saying that Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne is going to be replacing Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne?
No. So what they're saying, or mate, in a sense, but what they're saying is in the Flashpoint movie, which is probably still coming out, and Ezra Miller is probably still the Flash for now, let's say.
Sure.
That when he goes to save his mother from being murdered, which frees his dad from prison.
The plot of the movie, the plot of the storyline Flashpoint, which we have already seen in comic books and animated series and the TV series The Flash. So we all know exactly how it's going to go, and yet they are making this movie and we're going to see it anyway.
And Ezra Miller is in the TV series as well at one point. Yep. If we all recall correctly.
But do you find it odd if they make this movie, we all know exactly how it's going to go?
Well, I think they're also working in new elements that make it different. I mean, putting Keaton Batman in alone changes a lot of things. We don't know whether we're going to do the Atlantean Amazonian War. We don't, probably, I'd imagine, but we don't really know what we're getting. Yes, I see what you're saying, and yes. But I think it's like with the Winter Soldier. The Winter Soldier, the comic, isn't the Winter Soldier, the movie.
That is true.
So the idea is that he's stepping into an alternate dimension. Instead of it being like in the comics, Bruce Wayne's father who took on the mantle of Batman for some reason when his son died. How'd that work?
We don't know.
It's that Batman curse that we talked about from previous weeks. But yeah, and so he's going to step into the Burton dimension, which consists of just Batman 1989 and Batman Returns. So it's definitively that universe, which means that I guess he's married to Catwoman because that was sort of confirmed in the Crisis episodes.
Yeah,
do you remember?
I do remember that.
Which would work on its own. Do you think though that Batman having 30 years to be a better Batman? Because look, those are very stylish and fun movies that I enjoy for the most part, I guess. But you'd have to really change that guy up to have a handle on the multiverse. I mean, he's had 30 years.
Well, that's the thing. I reckon, if anything, that universe is probably absolute madness at this point. You know what? Because the first two were pretty crazy.
They were pretty crazy, weren't they?
Yeah. Less so than the Schumacher ones.
Yeah.
But they are still this big stylized universe. You know, he's got the bat wing. He's got the bat.
You mean less neon, I'd imagine.
There's less neon, certainly. But yeah, I mean, it's still this, they were released in the 80s and the early 90s, but they had this very strange anachronistic sort of out of time style.
Yes.
So what does that look like in 2021, 2022?
Yeah, you'd Blade Runner 2049 it, where you'd kind of keep elements of the universe and move it forward, I'd imagine, yeah. Do you think he'd still be Batmaning? I'd like to think that he would be.
Yeah,
I don't want to
maybe.
get there and he's like, I'm retired and I don't do this anymore. It's like, what are we even here for then? What are we doing?
Get out of here.
Yeah. But I don't know if I like the idea of making it the exact Burton version. I like the idea of tweaking it slightly so he's kind of more comic booky.
Meow.
Yeah.
I guess. And I think it being 30 years on, you'd be able to do that where he's figured out the multiverse and they have their own Superman and whatever else is going on.
Yeah, because there was never any overtly supernatural elements to the first two. No. I don't believe it. Well, there was certainly no...
I mean, there's weird gas and comic book
exactly, but there was never any implication that there were, visitors from another world and Amazonian magic or anything like that. None of that. But I mean, but there is potential for it.
Yeah. It would be strange if they went back and it was exactly the same.
Yeah, I would like to see just people say, okay, well, what if there was a Superman in that universe? What would he look like?
Yeah.
Would he be very gothy? I hope so.
Eyeliner fringe, you get Tobey Maguire.
Was there at one point Burton was attached to direct a Superman
Lives,
movie,
yeah.
so you get those designs.
Talking about Nick
thrown
Cage?
straight in, yes.
You could. That's not a terrible idea.
I mean, you don't get.
It's
Nicolas
a terrible
Cage.
idea.
You don't get Nicolas Cage.
Why not though?
I mean, I guess you could.
That would be pretty something else.
I think you want to see this.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't.
No.
What if you did?
Right, but you get those designs and modernize that. Get that design and modernize it.
Yeah, exactly. People are also questioning, well, what does that mean for the Bat Batman, which is his Batman nickname? There is no briefer way to say that than what I've just said.
Absolutely not. That's right.
Yeah. So
otherwise, people will be confused. Who are we talking
very
about?
confused.
We're talking about Robert Pattinson.
Yes.
In his role as Robert Battenbat.
That's right. So that's in its own universe in the way that the Joker is. So it's a self-contained world kind of going on there. And I guess if you are doing multiverse stuff, you could eventually skip on over to that and see what he's up to, riding a motorbike in a cemetery or whatever we've seen from that movie so far, which I'm okay with. I like the idea of separate universes.
That's right. What if Superman's just a guy who lived in the sewer?
Yes.
He's like, it's me, I'm Sewer Man. And people are like, Superman? And he's like, no, you misheard. But then it's too late.
They already printed it.
They already printed it on that old-timey printing press. Gotham Gazette.
Yeah.
It's Superman, the man from the sewers. We refuse to print a retraction.
There was also stories that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was going to come back, and we talked about this recently, and he was going to play Bruce Wayne's father who survived in this alternate reality.
Yes.
Which is set up perfectly from Batman v Superman. I think that's a great casting choice, and probably not an accident that you get somebody like that. But because they can get Michael Keaton, apparently they're like, fuck all that. Like, we're not doing any of that.
And Jeffrey Dean Morgan has been sitting up the back of Hall H at Comic-Con for years now.
I'm always here. And
just waiting for the announcement.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it's Thomas Wayne, it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He's like, my time to shine.
He's got his version of the bat symbol on the T-shirt.
He's printed it up himself. And then he just looks and the janitor just opens the door to the exit. He's like, oh, nuts.
And I really would like Warner Brothers to open their ears a little bit.
But look, I know that would be more exactly like the comic, but isn't there something to that where you step into another dimension and it's Bruce Wayne's father, and then you've got that connection between the two Batmen? Because if the Flash comes back and he goes, Bruce Wayne, I met another version of you, and he's like, great,
cool, yeah.
But there's that moment where he comes back and he passes him the letter from his dad.
Yeah.
That being said, Affleck's coming back, so you couldn't really do that anyway. But yeah, it's kind of a shame that Jeffrey Dean Morgan wouldn't be doing it. Because I think I'd rather see a sequel to
does that rule out a cameo for him?
No, not necessarily. But I think I'd rather see a Burton sequel set now.
Yeah.
That was even melded into some kind of futuristic Batman Beyond universe. Because Batman Beyond is an extension of the animated series.
Yes.
And that's kind of a gothic nightmare, that show.
Yeah.
Less so than the movies. That becomes this neon future. And I think that would be interesting to do Batman Beyond set in that universe, and he's the old Bruce Wayne, and there's a Terry McGinnis Batman showing up.
You know what also would be a little bonus from this universe if we carry on the Burtonverse? A certain Billy D. Williams as Two-Face.
That would be fantastic.
Right?
So
would he do it? I don't know.
He'd definitely do it. So it'd be done by now, right? We wouldn't get his origin now. 80-year-old Billy D. Williams.
No. No.
That would be cruel, throwing acid in the face of an 80-year-old man.
Yeah, I think he would be an established villain.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. So there's also been rumors that they are going to do a Batman Beyond. So maybe they still will. Maybe they'll introduce him and then they'll do Terry McGinnis down the line. But just the idea of seeing Keaton suiting up again as Batman is pretty exciting. And sure, he was from the era where he wasn't very big and he's not as tall as Batman. But
you can fix that with editing
fix it.
and camera angles.
It ultimately doesn't matter at this point.
And you know what they could also do is and again, this is rampant speculation at this point, but why not?
Sure.
You could just sort of repurpose Batman the animated series villains and put them back into the Burtonverse. If you want a 1980s Batman, Mr. Freeze, chuck it in there.
Absolutely.
Riddler, put him in there.
I've done a video on what Burton's Batman 3 was going to be, which will be linked below. But they were also going to do a follow-up comic more recently to this.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and which they ended up scrapping. And there's some amazing artwork that they were going to do for it. And it's essentially what happened in this universe after we stopped looking at it. And all the likenesses of the characters were used and everything.
James, I never stopped looking at it.
I know you didn't, Mason. But yeah, I think this opens up some exciting possibilities, but also there's a million ways you could fuck this up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
and we're going to see him.
We're going to see him. Maybe. I don't know. I think Warner Brothers are making some really good steps, genuinely. And, you know, you can have the Snyder Cut happening and the Batman happening and Batman Beyond and, you know, and Keaton's back. You can do it all.
Audiences, I think, at this point are savvy enough to
They've seen
say,
Spider-Verse.
Exactly. They can say, okay, well, we just want to see some good Batman stories. They don't necessarily have to be connected.
That's right. And one more rumor off the back of this. Grace Randolph has said that Ryan Reynolds might be back as Green Lantern, cameoing in
and Zack Snyder's Justice League, right?
Sure.
Why not?
He'd probably do it.
Yeah.
They probably have some footage of him in front of a green screen they could just use anyway from then.
I think you mean Ryan Reynolds debuting as Green Lantern.
Yes, of course.
Because according to him and Taika Waititi, that movie
What's anyone talking about?
All right,
Yeah. They're trying to Mandela effect us, and I'm not having it, quite frankly.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm curious, though, if people think this is a good idea and what version of this would they like to see? Because there's any number of ways it could go. I'm of the mindset of, you know, of doing a Batman Beyond movie, but it's really, you know, what do people want to see? I mean, in the suit, obviously, in his big muscular suit.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He looks good in it. You see him
just a man who has to turn his entire body when he wants to look left and right. Do you think they'll update the suit?
They
would have to, right?
Yeah. That'd be a great gag about it. It'd be like, you know, when I first started, I wore Nike shoes, which he did, and I couldn't even turn my head.
And I've kept that. I love not being able to turn my head, so I've kept it in the suit.
I kill 40 men a year also.
That's right. Without turning my head. It's quite the feat. I'm loving it.
We just got to accept that all Batmen are murderers now, I guess.
Yep.
Except Clooney. Never murdered anyone.
Huh.
Yeah. Something to think about.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
He would have been a great Batman in a different movie. Yeah. All right. Next week, Marvel Comics probably.
Nice.
Unless Keaton comes back as Batman again, in which case we'll do that.
There's additional Keaton news.
Yeah, additional Keaton, or Kilmer, or Clooney.
Or Beetlejuice.
All right, see you guys next week.
Grab that gem, you guys. We'll see you real soon.